Your presence here carries weight. The fact that you stopped scrolling, that these words caught your attention while thousands of other pieces of content slid past unnoticed, reveals something about the frequency you're operating on right now. Your consciousness pulled you here through a mechanism most people never acknowledge. The quantum field responds to readiness, and you've signaled yours simply by arriving at this moment. Most people encounter information like this and treat it as background noise, another piece of content to consume and forget. They're waiting for transformation to announce itself with unmistakable signs, grand revelations that leave no room for doubt. Real shifts happen in the gaps between your thoughts, in the moment right before sleep when your defenses drop, in the silence that emerges when you stop wrestling with what is. Growth unfolds in spaces where your mind releases its grip on how things should look. You've absorbed countless messages about the necessity of struggle, the virtue of grinding through resistance, the idea that worthy changes demand blood and sweat. That framework keeps people locked in cycles of exhaustion while they chase outcomes that seem to retreat with every step forward. Every moment, you're selecting from infinite potential realities through the energetic signature you broadcast. Your emotions, beliefs, and where you direct your focus create a signal that the field around you mirrors back with ruthless accuracy. Right now, just by entertaining the possibility that you shape your experience more than you've recognized, your frequency is recalibrating. The quantum field surrounding you is reorganizing itself in response to this shift in awareness, even though your logical mind can't track the movement yet. Understanding these principles intellectually accomplishes nothing if the knowing doesn't penetrate deeper than thought. Information that stays in your head becomes entertainment, another thing you know about without letting it change how you actually move through the world. People remain stuck because they approach awakening as a subject to master through study and analysis. They attempt to reason their way into a different life when the portal opens through feeling, through embodied shifts in how you relate to existence moment by moment. The version of yourself you're reaching toward already exists as a present reality in the field of potential. You can't perceive it yet because your internal receiver is tuned to old frequencies, broadcasting from outdated patterns that no longer match who you're becoming. Think of the life you want as a radio station that's already transmitting its signal clearly through space. Your work involves adjusting your own dial to pick up that broadcast. You don't chase the music. You tune yourself to the frequency where it already plays. This tuning happens through choosing, in each arising moment, to operate from the consciousness of someone who already inhabits that reality. That version of you exists now as an accessible state of being, a frequency you can step into through the quality of presence you bring to this exact moment. Your internal state generates your external circumstances with mechanical precision. The environment surrounding you isn't random or separate from who you're being internally. Every situation in your life reflects back the energetic frequency you're holding, whether you're conscious of it or not. Waiting for conditions to improve before you shift your inner state reverses the actual mechanism of how reality forms. The field responds to what you are, and then mirrors that back to you as circumstance and event. When you commit to living from the frequency of your desired reality, right now, regardless of what appears in your present circumstances, the quantum field begins reorganizing around you with startling speed. This reorganization happens because you've removed the interference pattern created by doubt, fear, urgency, and the need to control outcomes. In that clearing, life aligns with the truth of who you are beneath all the conditioning. The quantum field maintains a constant state of listening and responding. Most people broadcast unconscious signals rooted in worry, scarcity, and protection, then feel confused when their reality keeps echoing those frequencies back to them. Your state of being functions as your prayer. Your frequency casts your vote. Your consciousness serves as the tool through which you create. When these elements align with the reality you intend to experience, everything shifts in the present moment. You stop chasing, stop waiting, stop operating from the assumption that what you want exists somewhere else, sometime later. You embody the frequency of your intended reality now, and the mechanics of how consciousness shapes form take over. Reality arranges itself around consciousness the way water fills a vessel. You don't separate from what you experience. You co-create continuously through where you place your attention and the energetic quality you emit while doing so. Most people never cross into this operational understanding because they demand external proof before they'll risk internal change. They want confirmation before commitment. The mechanism works in reverse. You must embody the new frequency before the corresponding reality can appear. You must live as someone who trusts before circumstances justify that trust. This represents the leap that separates people who transform from people who accumulate information. You were designed for co-creation, built to participate consciously in shaping the reality you inhabit. Creative awareness sits at your core as your natural state, not something you have to strive to achieve. Conscious participation forms your default mode when you're not running programs installed by conditioning. Somewhere along the way, you absorbed messages that inverted your understanding of how change works. You learned that transformation requires time, that growth demands pain, that reality happens to you rather than through you. Those beliefs created static that blocks your access to your actual creative capacity. You don't need different circumstances or new opportunities arriving from outside yourself. You need to choose, moment after moment, to embody the frequency of who you're becoming while releasing the habitual patterns of who you've been. Do this with consistency and authenticity. Live it as a state of being rather than thinking about it as a concept. Your reality will shift with a speed that seems impossible when you stop blocking the universe's natural response to your consciousness. The breakthrough you're anticipating already exists here in the present, available through a simple choice. Operate as someone who creates from possibility rather than reacting to conditions. Inhabit awareness rather than moving through life on autopilot. Embody transformation as a living state rather than discussing it as an idea. Alignment carries immense power when you understand what it actually means. The universe supports every move you make when you're aligned. Flow opens hidden doors with every choice. Trust guides you closer to what you seek through every step, even the ones that seem to lead away from your goal. Linear time functions as a construct your mind uses to organize experience into something manageable. Consciousness operates outside those boundaries. In the quantum field, all possible versions of your life exist simultaneously in the present moment. Your future self already exists as a real pattern in the field of potential, vibrating at a specific frequency and waiting for you to match it. You're not constructing a new reality from scratch. You're selecting which already existing reality to step into through where you place your awareness and what you choose to embody. That future self isn't someone you'll become eventually. It's who you remember yourself to be once you drop the resistance that blocks your access to that frequency. Every obstacle, delay, and limitation functions as feedback, showing you where your energy still clashes with your intended reality. These points of friction serve as invitations to align more deeply, to examine where you're still broadcasting old frequencies that contradict what you say you want. The real work happens in transforming your relationship with circumstances rather than trying to change the circumstances themselves. People who've mastered this hold their frequency steady even when external evidence suggests their approach isn't working. They understand that consciousness operates on its own timeline, that the universe follows patterns of perfection your analytical mind can't map in advance. When you trust this, delays become preparation periods. Detours reveal themselves as the optimal path. Time shifts from an enemy counting down your chances to an ally creating the conditions for your success. You embody the frequency of what you desire rather than hustling to force outcomes. You become the kind of person doors open for rather than someone who exhausts themselves banging on closed doors. You allow reality to unfold through you rather than trying to make things happen through effort and strategy alone. This shift creates quantum leaps, the kind of transformation that happens so fast you barely recognize your life from month to month. You're no longer broadcasting struggle, scarcity, and impatience. You're radiating calm certainty that everything you need is already on its way, that perfect timing is unfolding, that the universe is operating in your favor even when appearances suggest otherwise. Your current reality doesn't prove your limits. Your present circumstances don't define your potential. They represent a snapshot, a single frame in a much larger story. What you're living now echoes frequencies you broadcast before you woke up to your creative power, patterns you embodied when you were still operating unconsciously. Everything can change the moment you truly embody a new frequency. The timeline compresses down to however fast you can genuinely surrender fear and embrace trust, release limitation and inhabit possibility, drop force and enter flow. This shift requires letting go of who you think you are to make room for who you actually are. Release the identity you built from old pain. Stop defending the story of your limitations. Consciousness can't hold contradictory frequencies simultaneously and have them both manifest. You must choose, moment by moment, which version of yourself you're going to embody. That constant choosing forms the practice of people who live in consistent alignment. That's how continuous creation happens. The future version of you doesn't exist ahead in time. It lives now as a possibility inside your awareness. Every breath gives you a chance to align with that version. Every choice offers an opportunity to be that person right now. When you do this consistently, reality reorganizes around you because you've stopped blocking the universe's natural response to your frequency. This explains quantum leaps, seemingly overnight transformations that look like luck or magic from the outside. The mechanism is consciousness itself, operating according to principles as reliable as physics. Your entire experience of life transforms when you truly embody this understanding. You stop feeling separate from what you desire. You stop waiting for fulfillment to arrive from somewhere outside yourself. You recognize that peace, love, abundance, and creativity aren't destinations you travel toward. They represent your natural state, what emerges when you stop interfering with the flow of consciousness through your being. You're not trying to become someone new. You're remembering what consciousness is, infinite and creative and whole, and recognizing that consciousness as your own nature. From this recognition, manifestation becomes expression. Synchronicity reveals itself as the normal way reality operates. Flow emerges as your default state rather than a rare exception. You aren't chasing change anymore. You are the change, the shift, the transformation itself moving through form. The universe waited for you because you are consciousness waking up to itself, recognizing its own nature through your individual perspective. Possibility isn't something you find or achieve. Possibility is what you are when all the interference patterns drop away and you're left with the pure creative awareness that forms the ground of your being.